Hi, my name is Kathy Norman, and I'm going to tell you about the NULSExplorer. This is the explorer for our production NULS blockchain called mainnet. Here is the URL. Now, the NULSExplorer reports on all activity related to the blockchain, and that activity is categorized by block, account, transaction, consensus, and contracts. This is the home page. And this value here represents the most recent block that has been processed. It also represents the number of blocks in the blockchain. Now, block number 1 was processed on September 11, 2019 at 6:44 in the morning. That's when we cut over to NULS 2.0. There is a block processed every 10 seconds. So there are 8,640 blocks processed per day. These are the consensus nodes that process those blocks. So roughly each consensus node processes 86 blocks per day. Now you can stake your nulls in a consensus node and then earn some income when the node processes a block. 46 million nulls are staked in these 103 consensus nodes. The total supply of NULS tokens is 107 million, and that includes all of the circulating NULS as well as all of the NULS that are locked for some reason. There could be a couple of reasons why they are locked. Circulating NULS, or the circulating supply, are those nulls that are usable at that moment in time, that you can buy something with, or you can transfer from one account to another. Here are the list of nodes. The list extends off the page here. And at the moment, NABOX node is processing the next block. Let's take a look at block here. Here's NABOX node, and we'll just list the block right here. There's only one transaction in the block, and that is the consensus reward, or the payment for processing the block. And it's not a lot. It's 1.79 nulls, but keep in mind that NABOX node is probably processing a block 86 times, so the earnings for today is 86 times 1.79 for NABOX node, approximately. Now I also want to draw your attention to another block, 128, 128, 2221. Okay, now this one happens to have 3 transactions that executed in it. The first transaction is the consensus reward. Notice this is 1.81, different than the NABOX node. The number of nulls that are staked to a specific node dictates the amount of the consensus reward. The more nulls you have staked, the larger your reward. I'm just going to take a look at this. In this case, for whatever reason, someone moved 2.44 nulls from this account to this account. All right, let's take a look at account. These accounts are stored in order of how many nulls the account holds. So of course, this is the account that holds the most nulls, and we can take a look at it here. Here's what the account is, and then you can look at the transaction or the block or both where this particular account was referenced and some activity was done. If I was to add up all these nulls in these accounts, I would come up with this value here, the total supply value. Let's take a look at transaction. These are the list of transactions from the most recent transaction and onward that was executed on this blockchain. It's not surprising that the most recent transaction was a consensus reward. Now let's take a look at our consensus nodes. 103 of them. You can search them by name or ID. You can look at the different categories of nodes. I invite you to check these nodes out and see what they look like. I want to also draw your attention to the fact that, hang on while I scroll down, some nodes have 500,000 nulls staked to them. Other nodes have less nulls staked to them. And if we go down to the bottom, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes that are currently inactive. And those nodes, the owners of those nodes need to do something to the node before those nodes can be active again. In some case, they're inactive, and people have pulled their nulls out. Possibly they pulled the nulls out because this node was red flagged, or perhaps people pulled the nulls out and therefore this node was no longer staked, so then it became red flagged. But you can look into it and see what has happened here. Now we're going to scroll up to the top and then go to the final one, which is contracts. This lists all the smart contracts that have been deployed on this blockchain. And a smart contract is a contract that interacts with the blockchain. And every distributed application interacts with a contract. In this particular contract here, for example, the number of transactions that have executed for the contract is over 11,000. Let's take a look at the contract here. Here are the transactions affiliated with the contract. And I'm just going to draw your attention to the functions. These are the different functions that your distributed application can call related to this contract. And that about summarizes everything that I wanted to share for you in this short video. I look forward to sharing more information with you. Have a great time in exploring this blockchain. Thanks.